Hey there guys, and welcome to another Factorio video. I'm Xterminator, and thank you for joining me. And today we are going to be covering all the main changes so far in the 0.18 updates for the game. So normally when there would be big updates all the way through 0.15 to like 0.17, each time for 0.15, 16, 17, I would do an update video covering all the updates. But they've now kind of changed how they're doing things, so they actually just kind of throw in little updates throughout all the subversions. So it was kind of hard for me to just do one video like at the beginning when 0.18 first released, because we knew there were going to be a lot more changes. So far we have 21 subversions of version 0.18. We're on 0.18.21. This is for experimental. I believe the stable is a few versions back from that. But I'm going to be covering all the main changes and tweaks and stuff throughout all of these versions. There's maybe some I'm leaving out, but these are the main ones, okay? So we're going to start off with the most obvious thing here is we have a main menu rework. As you can see, this looks a fair bit different than it has previously to 0.18. Just the button, the stuff looks a little different. There's some different layouts. One main thing here is there's now a continue button that will just pull from the latest save you were on, so you don't have to go onto, load, load game, select it. You just continue with whatever one was latest. And then there's also a new game GUI, which shows all the ways you can play. So single player here, you could load a game, which would do basically what the continue button did, but more steps, or you can do new game. And this is now quite different. This shows every single way you can play in the game. Before, there was like a menu in the main menu for like tutorial and campaign and scenarios, but this just shows everything, which is much more easily accessible. You can see everything here, and that's like the main changes to the menu rework here. Now, while we're in here, I will show you a few other things that have been added. We first off have a new scenario here, Rocket Rush. So you basically start with all technologies unlocked, choose your starting items carefully in like a little starting platform thing, and then you are like kind of brought down to the planet with the materials and equipment you selected, and you try to launch a rocket as fast as possible in single player or multiplayer. So this is kind of a cool extra little scenario. I like it. You could maybe compete in multiplayer. Have like, maybe someone selects different items than someone else, and you try to see you can do it quicker. Pretty cool here. And then these are my installed scenarios. And then with that, there's been some changes to the tutorial / free play. So they've added the 3 levels of First Steps tutorial campaign, which was actually the original tutorial and campaign before 0.17, I believe. And they've removed the introduction campaign, which is what has been in for the last couple versions. It may have been 0.16 when they added the introduction, took out the First Steps. I don't recall exactly, but they mentioned in the Friday Facts they are now adding in the original tutorial with a few reworks to bring it more up to date with the game. So that is a change there. Also, wave defense, a few changes have been made with that. Again, I can't actually visually show all this without it being an absurdly long video, even with cuts, just because some of it just takes a long time to show, but we'll go over it. So wave defense scales now with the amount of online players, which is really cool. It didn't used to. The wave defense hard difficulty will give 50% less bounty on each kill. And wave defense unit spawn logic has been refactored to be a bit smarter and just work, a bit better overall. And those are the main things that we're going to look at here. Also, throughout all the versions, there have been many, many optimizations to the game in many different areas that were way too many to list. But, to entities in the game, to, behind the scenes stuff, to visuals, just tons of optimizations. Obviously, a plethora of bug fixes throughout all the versions. Some of them were for outstanding bugs. Some of them are for bugs that were introduced, as they introduced new features. But just tons and tons of bug fixes. And many, many additions to modding and scripting. Again, way too many to mention. But they're just continually adding new abilities for modding and stuff. Now, because of this, quite a few mods probably will break if you are updating to 0.18, so keep that in mind. A lot of the main mod developers have updated their mods already at this point, but keep that in mind. So let's just hop into the game where I'm going to show you a few of the other changes here. I built a little example here, which you'll see why in a second. Couple other small things. One really nice one is overriding a save file will now give you a pop-up confirmation if the selected save has more playtime on it than what we're about to save. So this prevents you from accidentally saving over your 200-hour base with your brand new 1-hour base. You know, I've almost done that multiple times, and I'm sure other people have done it, and it's a real awful thing if you end up doing that. So this is a really nice kind of preventative thing for that. Steam users can actually log in now without needing to provide their Factorio website account password, which is really nice. One last menu thing I'm going to show you, and then we're going to jump into all this. So there are now graphic settings / sliders to adjust brightness, contrast, and saturation, which is really, really nice. Mine are just all on default, but if you do want to mess with these, they're right here, which is really nice. Okay, next thing up. Animations to water, trees, leaf particles, and water splash effects. So it may be a little hard to see. It's very, very subtle, but there are very kind of behind, well, I don't want to say behind the scenes, just like very subtle. That's what I'm looking for. Subtle animations to this water. I don't know if you can really see it, but it is kind of moving back and forth a little bit, which is nice. Also, splash animations. If we throw a grenade here, you can actually see there's now splashes, which is really, really cool. Big fan of that. Another one is the trees and leaf particles. These I think you can actually see a bit better than the water. So we walk over here. You can kind of see it looks like these trees are like moving around in the wind a little bit. The leaves are rustling. It actually can almost, at least for me, I can almost notice it a little more when I'm like moving a bit. But this is really cool. Just that extra subtlety and immersion added to the game. There's also now on damage effects for entities. So when they take damage, for example, if we shoot this robot port, you'll probably see little pieces flying off there. Same with the belt, heat pipe. They all look pretty similar, but they are there. You saw those little fragments flying off up here. Along with that, as you may have noticed, lots of new sounds. I can't demonstrate every single one, but there are lots. I'm running over here so we can chop a tree. I can show you. New sounds for the reactor, the chemical plant, furnace, fires, burner drills, tanks, mining, / chopping by hand, which is what I'm going to show you. And it does sound a little different. That does sound different than it did. It may be hard to notice, but it is different for sure. And then, let's see, roboport doors opening, like when robots fly out, footsteps and enemy sounds, new sounds for all that, train, rocket takeoff sequence, all the belt entities, pumps, small explosions, combat robot explosions, all new sounds for that, which is really cool. Like you said, you probably noticed the different sound as I was shooting stuff. We can see here if I can turn up stuff for maybe like game effects, walking sounds I could turn up, environmental effects, maybe see if we can hear things a bit better. So I don't know if you can hear that, but it's pretty subtle, but it is definitely some new sounds. So let's see. Oh, we got all that. Improved map colors. That's why I have the stuff laid out. So they have added specific colors to beacons, pipes, heat pipes, roboports, and steam engines. As you can see here, there is actually a pretty noticeable difference. These roboports are very clear, kind of light yellowish. The belts are the same color they have been. But then you'll see these are assemblers here. But these here are pipes. These are heat pipes, and these are steam engines, which all do have a more subtle kind of different bluish. You know, the assemblers and the power poles are similar blue, but these have a bit of a different blue. So that's pretty nice, especially in a bigger base. You know, it'll be easy to differentiate things. And then along with that, one thing I want to show you here is they've adjusted the hit boxes, collision boxes for turbines and steam engines, so you can now walk in between them like this, which is fantastic. You never used to be able to do this. You cannot walk in between them if they're lined up like this. Like I can't, if this were placed here, I couldn't walk in between like this. But you can walk through this space here when they're right next to each other, which is very, very nice. Also, we have probably one of the most noticeable things is the new character GUI. So this whole thing is quite a bit different, you may notice. And there's been a few significant changes with this. So as you can see, visually, it looks different. This is a mod, so don't worry about that. But the logistics has now been moved to an entirely separate tab on its own. So personal logistics moved to a separate tab. Like I said, requests and auto trash have been merged into one panel, as you can see here. And then personal logistics are now unlocked by a single research, unlimited count, plus 30 character trash slots. So previously, you would unlock, like a character logistics 1, and then 2 and 3 and stuff to get more requests. Now you just unlock a 1 research, it gives you 30 trash slots, and infinite amount of requests. However many you want. More items than you could probably ever have in the game. Maybe except for with a ton of mods. But you can just get infinite requests here, which is super, super nice. Another huge feature, this is probably one of my favorite features out of every single thing in 0.18. You can now toggle on and off your personal logistics and auto trash. Which means if when you die, you can turn this off, which means you won't get bombarded by all your robots in your base if you die by your base, or when you die, you'll respawn in your base most likely. You won't be having them rush you with a ton of materials you're requesting, which are already back on your body, which you would go get anyway. So you can turn this off. Fantastic. I love this feature so much. And that's really nice. I don't see that there's actually a thing here for it, a hotkey, which is a little bit frustrating. But at the very least, you can toggle it on and off. Personally, I would just have mine off. Like as soon as I die, I'll just turn it off. But very, very nice there. Production stats and electric network have a new look. So if we go ahead and click here, our electric network has a bit of a new look here. Now, obviously, these things aren't really making anything. What we could do is I can take another one of these, put it here, and we're going to do mode input, and you'll see kind of what this looks like. I mean, obviously we just killed it, but you can see the change here. Last minute, so definitely a different look here. Production very similar. As we're not producing anything, it won't show, but it's exactly the same look here. It's a lot easier to differentiate stuff, and they all show up in these tabs. Along with that, the kill statistics menu has been removed. It was its own menu, and it's now been put into your production stats menu right here, which is a little, it throws me off a little bit. At first, I didn't realize exactly where they'd put it, but once you get used to it, it's very nice. You don't have to open yet another menu for that. Let's see, we're almost through everything. The enter key can now be used to confirm the set request confirmation pop-up window. So when I do this, select anything really. So you would do this, do that, let's do that, and then you can just hit enter instead, and this will just work way faster instead of having to click over there each time. Very, very nice on that. Also, we're going to throw these out right now. We have new dying effects for our robots here. These are lasting 45 seconds, so we'll just keep an eye out on that for a minute while I go over other things. Enemies, pretty much all enemies, spawners, biters, worms, spitters, all have new dying effects and dying sound effects. So, pretty interesting there. I'm not a huge fan of this new sound, to be completely honest with you. It sounds a little bit weird to me, but you can see the different sounds there. The sound is just, it's very different, very noticeably different. Along with that, there have now... So these just blew up. There you go, got a good visual of that. They kind of blow up a little bit and then spin out of control and hit the ground. And again, not a huge fan of that new sound, but the animation looks very cool. And this would, of course, apply to the destroyer bots as well. Also in the character GUI, we now have a character with their own GUI here. where you can just, it's basically the same as what you would see down here, plus some extras. Can change your color in here if you want. You can just type it in as well, doing /color and then the color. Open equipment grid. This is so nice. If you want to do that instead of right-clicking, but right-clicking does still work. Batteries will show you their charge here. Shields will show you their charge here. Very, very nice on that. One, I think, last thing is atomic bomb rockets, as well as nuclear reactor meltdowns, now have a new scorch effect. So if I launch this, I'm going to run away a little bit. It definitely seems to have a bit of a different explosion effect. We'll do this one more time on a group of trees where it would maybe be a bit easier to see. So very cool there. You know, just these little changes that just add a lot more immersion and stuff. And I believe that is it, guys. Like I said, there were a lot of other little things that I maybe didn't cover. I didn't cover, obviously, every single optimization and bug fix, but there are a ton of them. And that should be everything now that I have in my notes for changes. Pretty big changes. You know, the map colors one is huge. The character GUI's like probably one of the biggest updates here. All the new sounds and graphics are a huge change. Personally, I don't know if all of them are great, but I'm not really one to judge. So there you go, guys. That is gonna do it. I think they may have changed the map colors a little bit too. I don't recall seeing that, but I think I saw that in a Friday Facts, or maybe that was in a plan that hasn't come to fruition yet. But that's gonna do it, guys. If there's anything major I forgot, please let me know. I did go through every single patch note, but it's possible I missed something through browsing all like 21 of them. Anyway, that's going to do it, guys. Thank you so much. Leave your thoughts, questions below. And if you haven't tried out 0.18, I definitely recommend it. There is a stable version if you're more comfortable with that. You can go to the latest experimental. I do just recommend you back up your save and keep in mind some of your mods may not work. But really, really good stuff overall of what they're doing here. And if there's any more huge changes, I will try to keep you updated. Anyway, guys, take care. Until next time, I look forward to seeing you all, and bye-bye.